Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Achieving Unity Success Formula. Yes, there is a formula to achieving unity. We need to work together, all of us, helping each other in every way possible. To get our newsletter, you go out to the achievingunity.com, go out to marketrigan.com, and they do a / sign up newsletter. You get a copy of our newsletter that comes out on the first and third Thursdays of every month. So a lot of good information out there. Brings up more information that you can also ask us about. So I hope you'll sign up for it. The company, Reality Focused Dynamics. We are creating solutions one reality at a time. We must know those realities so that we can transform our world today. It's all about transformation. We get beyond the issues of yesterday, our cultures, and come into today, which is all the learnings that we have. We talk about achieving unity through the encouragement, inspiration, and inclusion of others. We also talk about creating high value solutions on the business side through having strong, agile experience. And I'll talk to you more about that in a few minutes. The Achieving Unity Success Formula. Thank you for being here. This is weekly podcast number 29. It's my lucky number, and I'm glad you're here. It is every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Hope you'll put it on your calendar. Reminder, we'll see you here every week. And please bring questions. I said reality focused dynamics equals success focused solutions. As you can see in the logo on the top right, reality focused dynamics from left to right, success focused solutions from top to bottom. We work on making sure that we are all success focused, FOCUSCD. In our business side, we do talk about agile and lean, and it's more than just for the technical people. Everybody thinks about it in the engineering side. That's an engineering term. Well, I want to show how agile is about adapting, iterating, collaborating, and succeeding. I help companies and families stay ahead of change. So many of these items are easy once you learn them and put them into practice. They help us improve through teamwork and communication. And when do we communicate? We communicate at home, socially, at work, everywhere we go. It's all about communication and collaboration. This helps us thrive in these very uncertain times. Lean, do more with less. Lean helps us cut waste, boost value, optimize our workflow and our family flow. Simple things working with your family and your children. It helps us keep improving always. Yes, it's mostly used in business, but I've used several examples how it can also work in the home with families. It goes beyond business. Agile and lean aren't just for work. They make life much smoother at home too. Are you ready to level up? Let's chat. Contact me today. Contact us. Let's start optimizing your world to make it better, more cost effective, more efficient, and a lot more fun. Why do I say that? Well, isn't it time to ditch the chaos, level up in our lives? Agile and lean for everyone. Agile, lean, sounds business, sounds boring, right? Wrong. Think of agile as your superpower against change. Does life throw curveballs? Agile says, bring it on. I say against change. Change is good because change is short term. Change leads us into improvement, and it's all about teamwork, where it's a relationship, a spouse, your friends, your family, at work. It's adapting to the challenges that we face every day. Lean is something like Marie Kondo for your life. Marie is a renowned tidying expert. Get rid of the junk. Keep what sparks joy in your life. And as you're doing that, get results. If you're doing that, you can watch your effectiveness skyrocket. Software? Nah, this is life hack stuff. Forget the technical. But we're on the 8 to 5, 7 to 4, 9 to 4 work. Yes, it's used there too. But Agile and Lean are our secret weapons for everything that we do, from work to family, even your next do it yourself project at home. Imagine less stress, more wins, and finally, something I need, get stuff done. Why you should care? Why should you care? That's what we want to know. Are you tired of sometimes feeling overwhelmed? Agile and Lean are your chill pills. Want to be the hero at work, at home, in life? These are your cheat codes. These are those discount codes. Ready to enjoy getting things done? Yeah, us too. Me too. Our call to action is let's ditch that drama and get stuff done. Hit us up. We'll show you how to turn your life from a dumpster fire to a well-oiled machine. Maximizing, I'm sorry, minimizing decision fatigue and maximizing that reduced time spent searching. And it helps everyone participate in a smoother, more effective, and efficient process. Call us today. Reality Focus Dynamics. You can get us at realityfocusdynamics.com. You can call me at 303 362 8733, and that's the same as 303 Focused, Reality Focused. Hope to talk to you soon. Achieving Unity, we have courses, we have keynotes, and workshops. They all focus on encouragement, inspiration, and inclusion. Encouragement fuels that power of empowerment, lifts others up to help them reach their goals. Inspiration drives achievement. When we inspire each other, we accomplish more. What makes us stronger? It makes us a more successful team. Inclusion creates unstoppable momentum, including others. Celebrate every victory, big or small, personal or professional. Together, we can overcome any and every challenge. Let's build unity and success starting today. Unity starts at home, it shapes society and transforms workplaces. Anyone struggling with a relationship challenge, maybe parenting difficulties, navigating parenting time as a divorced or divorcing parent? Are you turning frustration into understanding? Ask yourself, what the frustration? Find value in your actions instead of reacting in anger. Anger holds no value. Anger, A-N-G-E-R. It's just actions not gaining effective results. That's all anger is. It has no value. Life happens in every relationship, from personal to professional, from parenting time to partnerships. We can truly learn to embrace challenges together. We only need one vision, one goal, and achieving unity in every area of our life. Contact us. Go to www.achievingunity.com. Then, starting tomorrow, we have another course, 7 Steps to Achieving the Unity Success Formula, Living Life Fully with Present Moment Awareness. So our next course, again, starts tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a 7-module live online course and practical journey with myself. I work as a professional speaker, a trainer, a motivator, a management consultant, life coach, and entrepreneur. In this course, we'll discover essential practices for cultivating and integrating mindful presence to enhance your innate abilities, your innate qualities, enabling you to live more freely and authentically. By caring, helping, and including others, we can achieve a deeper sense of unity and connection at home, with our families, at work, and socially. Just use that QR code on the bottom right. Let's get signed up today. Love to see you there. Again, achieving unity through the power of encouraging, inspiring, including others, personally and professionally. If you'd like to get to our website home, use the QR code on the left. When you get to our website contact page, go to the one on the right. I'd like to see you. Come talk to us. And now for our podcast. Our next 5 podcasts coming up after today. We have Leadership and Resilience and Team Retention by Rose Harrow. She'll be here on 4/9 next Tuesday. When Anyway, an international award-winning speaker, Rich Hopkins, on April 16th. The Dad Edge, Larry Hagner, talks about parenting and the processes and what dads have gone through over the years. He'll be here on April 23rd. Polishing Your Presence for Impact, Tom Coben. He'll be here on April 30th. And then Asian Pacific Islander Month in May of John Chan will be here on May 7th. But the star of today's show, the reason why we're here today, the catalyst of unity that is shaping content that strengthens relationships and elevates your message. Excuse me. Alison Halen majored in English and psychology without realizing she was getting the perfect degree for content marketing. It wasn't until a few years after she graduated when a family friend asked her to write blog posts for his law firm. It was then she realized she could make money doing what she loves best. Fast forward to today, and Alison is still writing blog posts, as well as website landing pages and emails. But she also integrates the SEO, search engine optimization, and marketing strategy into the content she writes to give her clients their best chance of attracting, engaging, and converting their ideal clients. Please help me welcome Ms. Alison Halen.
Thank you so much for having me.
Alison, it's great to have you here. As we were talking earlier, it's just so exciting to see someone like you that, again, you went into 1-degree plan, you get out of college with all of this great, very interesting information, and you, in some ways, you change. That's so interesting. And I guess one of the best things that I like about it is that you're doing what you enjoy most. You're doing something that was in your, I guess, your heart the longest time. So looking at that background, which again, like I said, is fascinating, English and psychology. I think everybody needs to take psychology classes. I didn't take
Yeah,
them
for
then,
sure.
but I learned it now. That is so interesting that you did that. Tell me something, Alison. How did those seemingly different fields lead you into content marketing and SEO strategy?
Yeah, well, it's really the perfect degree for content marketing because you do need the English, obviously, for understanding English and writing and how to craft a good story. I think that's one of the biggest advantages that I learned through my English major was just how do you craft a good story? How do you pace a good story? How do you keep the reader engaged instead of just, well, this happened, then this happened, then this happened, the end. There has to be an arc, and everything has to come together at the right time when it makes sense. So understanding that from a storytelling perspective has been really beneficial, and understanding the different types of arcs that you can have in a story, and that has been super beneficial because I've learned how and when to incorporate which types of arcs into which types of content. And then the psychology is all, what's in it for me, right?
Mhm.
What is it that benefits? What is it about the people that are reading the content that motivates them to take that next step in the buyer journey? So that's the next step of the content or the next step of my strategy is trying to create that content in a way that will make it clear what's in it for them, motivate them to take that next step, step in the buyer journey, and then make it really easy and obvious for them to take that next step. I think a very common problem that I see with people trying to do their own content marketing is they all think it's time to go straight to the call to action, schedule a consultation, or buy my thing. And depending on your industry, that's not always the case. There are some industries where, yes, that works. but a lot of the B2B and professional service providers I work with, I compare that to proposing on the first date. It's asking for way too big of a commitment way too soon, right? They're just doing a little bit of research, getting to know you, getting to know the business. They want to get to know you a little bit better before they're going to schedule a consultation. So that's part of what I do, is figuring out where are they in the buyer journey, what makes sense as the next step in the buyer journey, and then how are we going to get them to take that next step.
That's very true. And one of the things where I feel we are very parallel is that English portion, because there's so much we don't understand what someone else is saying. That
Mm-hmm.
ability that you have of putting the right words, and it
Mm-hmm.
may sound funny, but putting the right words in the right order so that when the customer reads it, it's easy for them to understand because
Mm-hmm.
don't a lot of us see advertising that doesn't make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or it doesn't resonate with us. And that, again, is another big problem that I see. And I've struggled with this myself, right? There have been times in my history where I go, of course, everyone needs blogging. Of course, everyone needs a website. What do you mean you don't understand the value of that? But you have to understand where they're coming from and what their perspective is so that you can meet them where they are and then help them understand the value of what it is you're providing and how it can make their lives better. When it all comes down to it, we're all just looking for ways to survive and thrive. So, what is it that you're providing that will help them do that? And how can you make it super clear as to how it will help them do that? And make you don't obviously go into your whole, 7 steps or 7 ways to do XYZ, right? You don't have to do all of that, but make it very succinct and very clear how you can make their lives better, and then motivate them to reach out. Because if you make it compelling enough, they're going to go, oh, how can I learn more? And you go, oh, I'm so glad you asked. Here's the link or the button or the download or, again, whatever that call to action ends up being.
That is excellent because you're so right. A lot of people still do not know what blogging is. They all this terminology, and again, I've been in it for many, many years, and some of the things that I learned in technology are called differently now. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them subroutines and programs and functions and applications and what is whatever it is that happens. Once I push that button, what makes that happen is what I need help on. And
Mm-hmm.
for being able to turn to someone like you, that when my business is doing something, and then you can take those words and then communicate it to my customer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Where when you talk about your degrees and getting into this and content marketing, and it was so perfect, when was or what was that aha moment that happened that you saw this and you switched directions perhaps?
I did. I switched directions quite a bit. So I yeah, like you said, majored in English and psychology. Thought I wanted to work in publishing. Graduated in 2009. Had the misfortune or fortune, depending on how you look at it, to graduate in the middle of that recession, followed by the jobless recovery. Super helpful. Thanks for that. So spent some years answering phones. There were no jobs to be had in publishing. So it was a lot of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life because I did not want to keep answering phones. That industry that I was in was just, it's like, I could climb the corporate ladder here, but looking around me at what people were doing, it's like, no, that's not what I want to do with my life. Found myself between jobs at one point, and my roommate at the time, her dad, who was an attorney, was awesome and offered to give me stuff to do around his office until I got back on my feet. And one of the things he needed was someone to write blog posts for his law firm. And he knew I had a strong writing background. So he offered me the gig. And I was like, what? I can get paid to write? Seriously? Yeah, sign me up. Because that had always been my dream. So I jumped at that chance and started writing for him and then for an associate of his and then for some friends of mine. And it just kept growing from there. And I think the real aha moment was about 6 months after I had started blogging for my roommate's friend or her dad. He came back and told me that I had brought in $75,000 worth of business to his law firm through the blogging I was doing for him. And suffice to say, he was not paying me $75,000 for 6 months of blogging. I wish that had significant ROI there. So that was my first kind of wake up call to, oh, this is not just busy work. This is not just a favor he's doing for me. This is having a real result for his business. So that was, I think there have been a bunch of aha moments, including, a bunch of other people coming up being, oh, you do content? Oh, we need content. Can you write content for us? But that first aha moment was him telling me the results that I had gotten for him just by writing a few blog posts every month.
And that's interesting too, because I'm working toward being funny when I make this statement, but it's one of the things that I work on is legal ease, or sometimes I call legal
Mm,
tease. For
yeah.
you to take some of the things that they write that is in that legal ease, legal tease
hmm
language, so to speak, and convert that to English, we need you in Washington, D.C.
I
If you can help
know.
us write these laws and statutes, I don't know if that's something you were able to work with in any way, or just were you able to put their terminology into English, which I'm guessing what you did, put their terminology into English for the
hmm
layperson to read
hmm
the site and make sense.
Yeah, 100%. And that is something I've always been really good at is taking the complicated stuff that they're trying to deal with because they're in the weeds and they want to talk about it in the weeds. And they kind of, and again, we all do this. We're in it, we're dealing with it all day, every day. We lose that ability to pull back and look at the full picture so that in addition to making it accessible for, like you said, the layperson to read, is also pulling back and having that full picture. So what I was doing this lawyer was writing his own blog post before hiring me, and it was one of those where I got to go and look at what he was doing and go, "Oh yeah, no, let me do this for you because I know I can do better than this." Um, so one of the things that I did better than he did is the fact that again, storytelling. It's all putting it into a story and making it so that they could see themselves in the story, even if this wasn't a situation they were dealing with. It's like, this is what you could be dealing with. If you are in a
Right.
situation like this or similar to this and you don't solve it, this is how it could get worse. And you don't want that to happen. So call us. Or you can call us now before it gets worse. And this could be the result instead. And that's much better than what could happen over here. So please call us. So framing it in that story made it really readable, and like you said, using the every person's language so that every person could understand it and easily understand it. That's the other thing. Even when you use bigger words, like even the people who understand those words, it's still going to take us a little more time to process that, a little more brain power to get through it. And we're lazy, right? Our
We
brains have so much else on our demand, our time, our attention. The harder you make us work, the more you make us work to get through your content, the less likely we're going to be to finish it. So, yeah, make it short and sweet when you can, make it really easy to understand, make it really scannable because people love scanning. So, if you do have a really long blog post with those 7 tips, 7 reasons to, whatever it is, make it easy for them to scan through those 7 tips or to jump from one to the next so that they're going to be more likely to do that. Because if they see just a giant block, I'm a reader. I love reading. And even if I click through to a website and I see a giant block of text, I'm still going to be like, do I really have time for this? Or
exactly.
is my time better served doing something else? So make it really, really digestible.
I'm going to be talking to you because there's so many things like that that I work with. That
Mhm.
this my startup of this slideshow. So much information. How do I condense that? I get my points across quickly, but clearly. As you mentioned that word lazy, and we are. But I like to transfer that into priority challenged because there is so much to do that. So priority challenge, what should I be doing next? What is the
Mhm.
next priority? And that causes us or me to be lazy because I'm tired of making decisions. And if I could put that information into some content management like you do, that'd probably help me be more excited about what I'm doing, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one of my favorite things to do. But again, it's because I'm a writer. So I love writing and I love marketing and what I do. So when I get to write about marketing or talk about marketing, like in this situation, it's again my favorite thing.
That is awesome, and that's one of the things that I hear you talking about because, of course, with your psychology and your English, and you work with lawyers, and you do your writing and your reading, you've worked with a variety of clients with a variety of knowledge.
Hmm.
What are some of the common content challenges in this process that you've gone to that you see the businesses facing
Hmm.
today?
Most of the time, it's just time. Like you said, priority challenged. Blogging is usually not a priority or a very low priority if it's anywhere on the priority list. It is something that people tend to get very excited about when they start doing it or think about doing it. And they might write a few posts and then they get busy, they get bored, they don't see results right away. It falls by the wayside. They go do something else. And then they go, well, my blogging didn't get any results. Well, you only have 4 blog posts up. Of course, it didn't get any results. Or you haven't posted anything since, February of last year. Like, of course, that people are going to see that. Google is going to see that, and it's gonna make it look like you're not taking this seriously. So time is a huge one. People who just don't like to write is another one. If you're one of those people who hates to sit down and stare at that blinking cursor, I get it. We've all been there. You're going to be a lot less likely to write your blog post if that's the case. So yeah, just making the time, sticking to a schedule is a big one. That is the probably the most important aspect of marketing. It's just being super consistent in creating content, in distributing the content, in the language you use, in the fonts and the logo and the colors, and everything needs to be consistent. And people have a really hard time with that because they get bored. The
That's
problem
why
is
I would
your
want to
audience is not getting bored.
yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, but you're right on track because that's why I would hire you. That these colors, my logo, I didn't do it. My son did it. I working with colors and putting them together. I don't understand them until I see them finished and I see how they
Mhm.
work.
Mhm.
Do you see some of that also with the people that you work with? Because a lot of
100%.
times
Yeah.
we don't know what we want, do we? A lot of times.
I think we do. We just don't know how to create it or how to
Okay.
express it. It's one of those when people repeat back to you, like if you're having trouble expressing something and someone goes, "Oh, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. You're trying to say such and such." And when they say it in the way you were trying to say it, it's like, "Yes, that's it. That's
Exactly.
exactly it."
Yeah.
And that's the feeling that I love getting with my clients when they look at something I wrote for them and they go, "Oh, yes, that is spot on. That's exactly what we've been trying to say." That is really, really gratifying for me. But like I
I
said, it's
could,
because they're in the weeds and they're trying to explain all of the things. And I can pull back and look at, okay, you're all of these things have this through line. So let's just talk about the through line. And we have one, maybe 2 lines that sum it up and we're done. There's your tagline. And it looks really easy. It is easier when you're not, like I said, in the weeds, when you have that outside perspective. And again, a few years of experience doing this.
a few years, yes. And that reminds me, as you're saying that outside that perspective, their perspective, is that maybe saying the same thing as getting outside the box as you're looking back at what's needed? Does
It's
that kind of
similar.
relate in a way? Okay.
I think of it more as pulling back and looking at the forest rather than looking at each individual tree or each
Tree. Okay.
individual, it could be pulling back and looking at the whole tree instead of each branch and each leaf and each root, which again, when we're doing this all day, every day, like that's what we love to do, right? I love digging into the nitty gritty of like how to organize and analyze your blog posts and what Google's doing with their algorithm now and what that means for your strategy. That's all getting into the weeds. And I could talk about that all day. And most people would go, why do I care? Well, it's so people, so your ideal clients can find you online when they're looking for you. Oh, well,
Yeah.
that I need,
Now,
right?
now
You
you said
pull,
something I can relate to, right?
yes, yep.
Okay. That's one of the things as you're talking about, and as we mentioned earlier, there's so many applications and programs and things that we can use. And I love the voice to text. That
Mm,
has helped me so much more in my writing. And
mm-hmm,
then being able to use things like Grammarly to
mm-hmm.
help me correct all of my English in that process. How do you feel about AI and how AI is coming out so strong today?
I don't really have any feelings about AI. I have a lot of opinions about how people use AI. Because I'm with you. There are aspects of AI that I love. I'm not a fan of Grammarly, but I don't think I'm not really their ideal client. But I love like when Gmail started at like filling out that when you're typing and they kind of gray in the next couple words for you, and you're like,
Yes,
yes, and all I have to do is
hit
hit
tab.
tab and it filled that in, speeds it up so much faster. Or when you're in Gmail and you've got like, here's one button that has this one line reply, and now I can click it and hit send and 2 clicks and I'm done. I replied to that email. Love it so much. My problem with ChatGPT, which I know is not all of AI, but I feel like that's what people are talking about when they talk about AI
Hmm.
is ChatGPT. Is the fact that people think it's an SEO tool, and it's not. Don't use it to do keyword research, or you can kind of use it to come up with content ideas. I would be very careful about doing that because mostly what it's doing is telling you what everyone else is already talking about. So
Right.
when you focus on those topics, you risk getting lost in the noise. The reason I pay for an SEO tool is because it will tell me the keywords that people are looking for, and it will also tell me how competitive that is. Is there a ton of content out there and I have no chance of ranking, or is it really light and I can really easily rank, or is it somewhere in the middle? So I look at both of those things, and ChatGPT just does not have that capability. That's not what it was built for. So proceed with caution. Proceed with caution when using it to create content. I think I heard another marketer, we were chatting, and she's like, it's a fine first draft. And that pretty accurately sums up my feelings about it is, yeah,
Hmm.
it's fine as an initial draft, but don't ever just copy and paste from
Oh
ChatGPT,
no. Right.
because that's could land you in trouble with copyright laws because it's not generating anything. That's another quibble I have is there's no AI generated anything. There's AI repurposed content because it just scrapes existing content and mixes it up for you and goes, here, is this what you're looking for? And it
Hmm.
may or may not be, but at the very least, or I'd say worst case scenario is it could get you in copyright trouble. Best case scenario is it's more white noise because it's just taking what everyone else has already said and regurgitating it for you. And if you just copy and paste it and put it up on your website without at least check to make sure it's accurate. Studies have shown ChatGPT is wrong up
Oh
to
yes.
half of the time. So please make sure that it's accurate first and foremost. Add your own brand voice. Make sure it sounds like you. Make sure it's using words you would actually use in a conversation with a client or a prospect. And then put your own experience and expertise and in there because that's what Google is looking for. Google prioritizes original content over duplicate content, or, again, the more of the white noise because
Mhm.
that's not providing value to their users. So when you can demonstrate, here's what you need to do, here's why, or here's a case study, or here's what I've seen in, my years of blogging and doing SEO and whatever else it is that your industry is, your specialty is, talk about that. Talk about your particular experience and expertise. You can work that into the content that ChatGPT gave you. You don't have to do it completely from scratch. That is my favorite use of ChatGPT is to get over, I call it linking cursor syndrome, where you know what you got to write down something and you kind of have an idea of what you're going to say, but you don't know how to get started. Having ChatGPT write something for you and then you can go from there makes it a lot easier. So I love it for that. But these people who think they can just put something into ChatGPT and then copy and paste without even really looking at it, much less editing it for, again, accuracy, brand voice guidelines, including your own perspective, your own unique experience in there, that's where it gets to be problematic.
It does, and that's one of those things too. Like you're saying, you mentioned the word repurposing someone else's
Mm-hmm.
writing, and that makes
Mm-hmm.
so much sense. I hadn't heard it said that way before, but I do use ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini. And what I use, and I said Grammarly. I used to teach, and I may teach again, but I'm not teaching this quarter at the University of Denver, and we received a great discount on using Grammarly, and that's how I started using it. And it is helpful for what I do. I do realize it uses some words, and I think you mentioned this a little bit too, Allison. You can see some words that it uses often,
Mm-hmm.
just like some of the AIs, that you can tell that
Mm-hmm.
that's not my word. And seeing you
Mm-hmm.
use it so much, anyone that reads it, first thing they're going to think of is, oh, that's probably coming from ChatGPT, Copilot,
Mm-hmm.
Gemini, Grammarly, whatever it's going to be. So it does make it difficult. But what I enjoy it for the most, and I have a little file that says, and it does start off this way. Okay, AI, yeah, I do use it in every one of them. Can you give me three examples of what I just wrote? Or can you give me three examples and rewrite what I just wrote? Because there's times I don't feel like I'm getting the point across. I
Mm.
don't, like you're saying, I hated English in school. In fact, when we had number two pencils and erasers and typewriters that you had to use the white out or the little things you push down to correct the spellings in words. So through college I was not I enjoyed writing, but I did not enjoy the tools that we had to write. So
Mm-hmm.
I love it now, dude, back to the voice to text. But I like it when it can give me other ideas. And again, I'll ask each one of them,
Mm-hmm.
the ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, and even I haven't done it with Grammarly. I don't know if I can with Grammarly, but I'll just say, okay, AI, can you rewrite what I just wrote to make it more understandable? And it
Mm-hmm.
gives me ideas. And again,
Mm-hmm.
at that point, I have nine ideas to work from. And I say, oh, I like this word. I like this, what this one say.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps me bring out, I don't know if that's good or bad. And some people may not like that, but it helps me use the words that I want to use, but be able to explain that content a little better to my
Mm-hmm.
customer, right?
Hmm. I think that's one of the better uses of AI, actually, because you're starting
Thank you.
with your own knowledge and expertise, and you're putting that into ChatGPT instead of asking ChatGPT to give you the knowledge and
No, no.
expertise. You're going, here's all the knowledge, here's all of my expertise. I just need you to organize it for me. Um,
Mhm.
AI is great at organizing information. That's really what robots do best is, give
Is
it
that
a
right?
bunch of
Okay.
data and it'll organize the crap out of it, right? So do that by all means, but it's when we ask it to be creative that it really can't. I mean, like I said, it can take what other people have done in creative areas and kind of repurpose it for you and go, is this what you want? But that's also when we get things looking silly, like people with more than two hands, or a banana. Apparently you can only have one bunch of bananas, you can't have a single banana in the images that AI is again repurposing. So you end up with silly stuff like that. So don't ask it to be creative, but absolutely put your own knowledge and expertise in there and then just say, can you just organize this for it, clean it up for me? It can do that all day long. That's really what robots do best.
I do like that. I like that cleanup. Those are good words you just used because that's what I like. It's that cleanup or help me come up with another word, and that's what I do a lot of times.
Organize,
Hmm
structure.
And mhm. and even at first I was messing up. This is months ago, but I would say, "Give me a word," and I'd leave it at that, and it would fail me so many times. And so that's when I came
Hmm.
up with that three words. And you give me three
Mm.
examples of
Oh,
these,
okay.
and it gave me some more ideas to think. And again, using all three of them, it gave me a chance to even better understand what I am trying to say. And
Hmm.
it, again, with even nine examples, I can say,
Hmm.
I like that, but I like this better. But I
Hmm.
still use their concept to help me
As a
organize,
jumping
as you're
off point.
saying. hmm It
Yeah,
was. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and I like that because it means you're like figuring out how to game the system. You're like, all right,
hmm
this didn't work. How about this?
Yeah, exactly. Back to that organizing priorities or uh, the whole thing on lazy or priority confused.
Hmm.
It's one of those situations that I like when machines work. There's an
Hmm.
old saying that I just made up. Just kidding, but it's machines must work. People need to think. And
Hmm.
that's what we want to do is, as you're saying, write this out, write what you want, get some feedback, but
Hmm.
we need to do that thinking. We need to do the creating that we're talking about. And when we turn to, and you mentioned Google or any other one, isn't that what we want? We
Hmm.
want the heart of the other person, the mind and soul of another
Hmm.
person, and not just what somebody
Mm-hmm.
else may have written decades or centuries ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if all you're putting out there is content that has been repurposed that other people wrote first and AI just repurposed it for you, like why would anyone come to you? You're not then you're not providing value because you're
Hmm.
not putting anything unique out there, and you're not positioning yourself as a thought leader in the industry. So yeah, it's not going to end well for you because a Google will catch on, so it's not going to help your rankings. And the real life people, if when they find your content, are going to go, well, this is boring, or
Hmm.
this doesn't make any sense, or so that it's not going to resonate with them. You need that human touch. We can spot something that is not authentic, not human in a millisecond, and not even be able to put our finger on why we don't like it. We're just going to go, oh, I don't like this, and click away. And it's going to be because it's not authentic and it's not resonating with your audience. So, yeah, that I would say that's another big mistake I see people making when they create content or have AI create, I put in air quotes, create content for them, is that they're creating content for the sake of creating content. And they're not really thinking about the goals of that content and what they want it to do and how they want their people to feel when they encounter that content and what's the next step in the buyer journey and how are we going to get them to take that next step in the buyer journey. So thinking from the perspective of your user and kind of reverse engineering your content from there is the way to go. And that's what AI can't
That's,
do.
that's right. That is so true. Well, on your LinkedIn site, you talk about transforming words into powerful connections. What what does that mean, and how do you achieve that in your work?
Yeah. So I always ask my clients, um, I have this whole onboarding process that I go through that includes asking them 3 words that would describe their brand, how they want people to feel when they encounter their brand. And then I ask them about their ideal client because that is going to inform everything that I do from a writing perspective. Because again, it's not just enough to make the content really easy to understand. Like I said, that is super important. But it also has to be in your language, back to consistency. Because if they see something on your LinkedIn or on your website or on your Twitter or whatever, and then they talk to you and it's a complete disconnect because you don't talk on Zoom or in person or on the phone the way your content online sounds. There's going to be that disconnect and people are going to be turned away because it's not consistent. They will have come to you expecting one thing and they just got something completely different, and it could be the same message, the same information, the same services, but the way that information is delivered is completely different, and that can really turn them off. So I always really need to get to know my ideal client and how they talk so that I can create content that sounds like them. Because again, I don't want it to be generic. I don't want it to sound like me or one of my other clients. It
Hmm.
has to sound like them if it's going to resonate. And it also has to sound at least a little like their ideal client. I mean, you don't want to get too creepy with it, but you have to use the language that they're going to use, right? So again, back to my example of lawyers, right? Lawyers are known for swearing a lot. So sometimes if you if you swear in your content that a lawyer is going to read, they go, "Oh, okay. This person is literally speaking my language," right? There's kind of a tribal aspect in that, in people using the language that we use, because we are very tribal. Again, back to the psychology, we are very tribal creatures. We like to pretend that we're not, and we're global now, and we've evolved beyond that. Beyond that, our brains have not evolved beyond that. Our brains still think this person is with my tribe, this person is safe, this person is not with my tribe. They might be a competitor for resources, they might be a threat. I don't trust them. So signaling that you are part of someone's tribe is a shortcut to earning their trust. And language is huge, right? And it's not just a matter of English versus Spanish versus Dutch versus whatever, right? It's again, do you swear? Do you use big words? Do you throw in Latin terms now and then? Do you use gaming terms? That's actually something that I just had game night with some friends last night, right? So that's kind of the thing that I can talk about, that some people will go, "Oh, what were you playing?" And other people, they get this blank look and they have no idea what I'm talking about. And it's like, oh, okay, we are not on the same wavelength here. So understanding your target audience and what their wavelength is and using that language that they use super important. So really understand that about your clients. You're muted, Mark.
Thank you. Sorry about that. A couple few minutes ago, I turned it on. I like that you were using that term wavelength. People
Mm,
talk about being on the same page all the time, but as you just mentioned, you're on the same wavelength. So you're thinking the same, in some ways paralleling your journey or your path,
hmm
right?
hmm
Okay. Some
Absolutely.
something else that we do is on that bridge. I talk about it a lot. I build bridges, real bridges, bridges between people, bridges of unity. And in that, we want to build those bridges and avoid walls. So content and content is the same way. Content can be used to build bridges or
hmm
it can build walls. Do you
hmm
have an example maybe of how maybe you've helped a client use that content to foster that connection instead of
hmm
division?
Yeah, I think that's really my goal with all of my clients is to yeah, make those connections and try and foster that unity. And again, it all comes down to the language that you're using. And again, going back to lawyers using their Latin that they like to use, because they're using it and they're talking with their colleagues, and their colleagues use it. They sometimes forget that their people don't, their clients don't understand what all those words mean. So switching into the English that their clients use is super important, and I certainly do that in all my content. I do that. SEO and marketing is very well known for using acronyms and terms other people don't understand, like SEO. And I appreciated that even in the intro that you gave me. I wrote out SEO and did not write out search engine optimization, but you filled that in as you were reading it. And I appreciate that because I do make a point of literally spelling out what SEO means every time I use it, because again, I'm using it. A lot of my clients, it's kind of a buzzword for them. They clue into it, but a lot of them clue into it and they go, "Oh, I've heard of SEO and I've heard that's important. I don't really know what it is or why it's
Hmm.
important." So I will spell it out and say search engine optimization, which is still a lot of big words. So then I go back to it means making Google your friend, right? It means that when people are looking for you, they can actually find you. So um, I really want to make it as easy as possible for people to understand. So it's again getting rid of the acronyms, getting rid of the jargon, and just putting it in benefits. That's another big marketing thing is benefits over features. We get all excited about the features, and I can tell you all the things about the Google algorithm and what I'm doing in the content and all the keywords. And this has this search volume and this has this keyword difficulty, and no one cares, right? It's like, hey, here's a good keyword. We can put this in your content, and people who are looking for it will find you. So put it in terms they can understand.
And Allison, that is why you, to me, are so valuable. Because if you were telling me those things, please accept this as a compliment, but I would say, that's what I'm paying you for. Help me out. I,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I understand your intelligence, your background, your knowledge, education, but you go into some of these things, as a lot of people do, I'm going to say, thank you. That's what I need you for in that
hmm
process. And it's funny that you mentioned that. My newsletter comes out, as I mentioned the first of the broadcast, podcast. My newsletter comes out tomorrow, and I have an article called "Get to Reality," and it is about us talking where we can understand each other. We have to be real about that and
hmm
get to that level. And
hmm
what we do, I hope you read it. Love to have some feedback from you from my articles that I write. So marketing.com/blog. So in a world, and that's another thing, and coming out to all of these, so we got 10 more minutes, coming out to all the things that we're doing with AI and everything else, just the web that we've had for so many years now, in this world of information overload, how can businesses create content that cuts through all that noise, as you mentioned earlier, and genuinely resonate with their audience?
hmm
And again, as you mentioned earlier, how are we building that trust? How are we building that unity?
hmm Yeah, it all comes down to what, again, understanding who your ideal client is, What is the problem that you are solving for them? And what's the pain point? What's going to drive them to look for results? Annoying, but is not really driving us to get a result for it,
Mhm.
right? I mean, an example is I stuck for a while, but I wasn't gonna do anything about it because there's really nothing you can do when you hurt your toe, right? But there's also it wasn't enough. It wasn't inhibiting me from walking or living my life or doing anything else. So understanding that your client has a pain point that is going to drive them to look for a result and look for a solution. And sometimes it is just doing a little more information. Sometimes it is something like, should I go to the doctor for this? Is this something that needs attention, or is it something that I can ignore? So understanding that people are sometimes going to seek you out initially in that informational stage. And that's a great way to capture those leads is when they are looking for information. Because if you can get their contact information, get them to follow you on social media, and that positions you as the thought leader, as the expert in your industry in their mind. And then they're going to be the first ones to think of you when they do, it does reach a problem of, oh, my toe is really swollen and oozing pus, and yeah, no, I should get this looked at. Like now I need someone right away. Hopefully you're going to be top of mind because you've been giving that all that information throughout the course of this. So keeping the pain point top of mind and your ideal client top of mind is always key. And again, never forget to put your unique perspective and your
It works.
expertise and experience and knowledge in there because that's what's going to help you stand out from the crowd.
That's just such excellent advice. And we have about 9 more minutes. And I want to ask, in your experience, because we keep talking about blogging, what are
Mm-hmm.
some of the most effective ways to use blogging to grow and scale a business while also fostering what I call the unity with its
Mm-hmm.
audience?
Yeah. That's such a great question. I love using blogging all the time. Obviously. I do think it's a big mistake to just put up a blog post and go, okay, I'm done. I published a blog post now is and the reality is that is just not going to happen. The reality is you have to drive traffic to it. For a client, I just before hopping on this, I published a blog post for them, and then I went through their website and I looked for other blog posts on related topics that I could then use to create links to that topic that I had just posted, that article I had just posted. So that's going to drive a lot of traffic there. So if people find those other blog posts, it's going to drive them to that newer blog post. And Google clues into that too. Google sees all these links going to this one piece of content and goes, oh, there must be something really good and juicy here. Let's boost this up in the rankings. Don't ever just post it and assume that if you post it they will come, because that is not always the case. Putting it out on social media, I always create a video to go along with my blog, so you can read the blog, you can watch the video. You can always repurpose it. And it always goes out in my newsletter too. So that's another way to create content, right? You got to have the newsletter, but I just wrote a whole blog post. What do you mean I have to write more content? You don't have to write something new. You can just take your blog post and put the snippet and then a link to the blog post in your newsletter. That's it. You're done. Now people know what's going on with you. They've gotten the update. They've gotten this really great information. They are, had their memory refreshed as to who you are and what you do. And use it in sales conversations. It's really helpful if someone is kind of on the fence and you keep going back and forth, and maybe they email you with a question that you have answered 5 million times and you are sick of writing it out 5 million times. Give them a link to your blog post on the topic. Say, oh, yeah, that's a great question. I get that a lot. Yeah, here's the link to my blog post where I answered that question. And it makes it quick and easy for you because you don't have to write it out again. And it also positions you as an authority. Even though it's leading back to your own website, it still has that veneer of authority of, oh, there's this article on the web and it's very official looking and it's providing value for them. And then once they're on your blog, I mean, who knows how many other blog posts they're going to look at and go, this was great. What about
Right.
this? Or maybe there's more information on this related topic. And now they've read all your content and now they've gotten all this information from you. Now they're ready to work, and they're ready to work with you because you have educated them. That's the other big benefit is especially as thought leaders and professional service providers, I know we all have, or how finances work or taxes or whatever or how the law works, right? We all have we all those people coming and try. It's not how it works. And now we have to try and explain it to them on the call, which is frustrating for everyone. Whereas if they've already read all your blog posts and your newsletters and all the things, and now you've educated them. Now they have a better understanding of who you are and the value you provide, and they're more willing to see read all that content. So it's a great way to make the sales process so much faster and easier.
Do you see, you mentioned with the blogs, and I have blogs, I have articles, and I'm writing a book. And what I'm thinking about doing is taking my blogs and my articles and taking that to make my book, to finish my book.
Mm-hmm.
It's not written right now. Is that something people are doing, or is that
That's more or less what I did in my book, Content Marketing
okay?
Made Easy, which you can get on Amazon. It with blog posts, but there was a lot of, I know I wrote a blog post on this. Let me go check out that blog post. And then I would use that as
Okay.
the basis for that chapter. So yes, that is your blog post is by putting it
Yeah.
into a book and then saying, look, I'm an author. I literally wrote the book on the subject.
Mhm. That is excellent too. And when we talk about blog posts, we're talking about anything that you, well, let me ask you to answer that. We know a blog post, are we talking about going out to Google and to
Mm.
LinkedIn and to Facebook? And what do we talk about when we say blog post?
When I mean, honestly, I think you could include social media and it would still technically be, I talk about articles that live on your website. I do always recommend prioritizing the content on your website because that is the only real estate that you own. I mean, we've seen this over and over with the various social media channels. They can get shut down temporarily or permanently. We don't really know what's going on with that. They can shut down your account. They can delete your posts for whatever reason they want or for no reason at all. They can bury it in the algorithm so no one ever sees it. So always prioritize your own content on your own website because no one can take that away from you. So prioritize that first, and then absolutely use social media to build those relationships, DM, talk one-on-one with people. That is what social media is really good at. But
Okay.
um, don't don't use it for don't use it as your only method of blogging, right? I think there is certainly value in creating longer posts on social media, but that should be in addition to your blogging and supporting your blogging and should be a way to drive traffic back to your website. So again, you can capture those leads and
That's great. Yeah, I'd like to talk more about that. We only have a couple of minutes left, but I have two quick questions for you. First, is there anything that you'd like to share with our audience about how content marketing, SEO, and strategic communication can help build stronger connections? If you could do that in a couple, just 2 minutes. And in that, how do we contact you?
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's all about positioning yourself as a thought leader and again, educating your audience. And doing it in a way that's in line not only with your brand but who you are as a person, and that might vary depending on the size of your business. If you are your business, then you are your brand, and there might be, want to present this as professional me and this is only for friends and family, and that's fine. But make sure you're really consistent in terms of what you are sharing with your audience. And again, understand who your target is that will draw them to you. What are their problems? What are you doing for them? Always remember that that's what even in person is. Okay, why am I here? What's in it for me? Is this worth my time? Because if it's not, it literally only takes one click for them to go away and find something else. So you have to make it worth their time and make it really clear why it's worth their time to stick around. Again, Content Marketing Made Easy on Amazon. My website is AV, as in my initials, Alison Verhalen. That is avwritingservices.com. You can check out my blog there. There are a lot of blog posts at this point because I've been doing it for a while. I'm on LinkedIn as Alison Verhalen and on YouTube as Alison Verhalen Content Marketer.
Excellent, Allison. Congratulations on all you have done. It's an awesome career you put together. I am in awe of all the things that you have done and continue to do. So everyone that listens to this, please contact Allison. Get some feedback from her. Give her a call, send her an email, go out to her site, contact her, see what she can do to help you. Allison, again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let's continue working together and see what we can do to make this world a better place. Everyone on the call,
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
you bet. Thank you. Everyone else, please come back next week. We will be back here at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. Love to see you here. Again, contact us. Call me at 303-362-8733, which is 303 Focused, Reality Focused. Looking forward to talking with you soon. See you next week. Allison, it's been a pleasure. Cheers.
Yeah, for sure.